Yeah.
The Albanese government has, for the first time, backed Israel's right to respond to Iranian missile attacks. Here's Deputy Prime Minister Richard Marles speaking on the ABC this morning.
Is the US president right? Do you agree with Joe Biden that Israel has a right to respond to Iran?
Yes, Israel was attacked on October 7. Hezbollah had a whole lot of choices, but it chose in the aftermath of October 7 to also attack Israel along with Hamas. Iran has been attacking Israel. Israel has a right to defend itself in the face of all of that.
Michael, last week the PM and Penny Wong refused to echo Joe Biden and back Israel's right to retaliate. So what's going on in Canberra?
Spear's got the most right-wing person in the government to try and bait him into saying that, and they finally forced him to saying the right thing. But they're very anemic on this, aren't they, James and Danica? You sense that they have no understanding. There's a tiny little democracy there, hit twice by two barrages of 200 ballistic missiles. Imagine if Tasmania was attacked from New Zealand with 200 ballistic missiles. What would Australians do? So, I actually think they have no idea what the Israelis will do. Any of these world leaders, Macron, Biden, certainly Albo and Wong, the anti-aircraft sites, the ballistic missile batteries are the most obvious ones, but they could, without breaking the promise to Biden, seal up the entrances to all of the nuclear sites without attacking them and leave them there for those charming nuclear bomb-making scientists to work out what they'll do in the future.
Yeah, good point. Now, Labor, as we know, have been very weak on this whole issue since the beginning, and this might explain why. Have a listen to Nasser Manshni from the Australian Palestine Advocacy Network speaking on the ABC.
Anthony Albanese is the best friend Palestine's ever had in the Lodge. The bar's very low, and he's doing, I think, his best.
There it is, the best friend Palestine has ever had in the Lodge. Michael, what's your reaction to that?
Well, he's right. Objectively, he's right. I've been negotiating with Albo since he was in student politics on this issue at Labor Party conferences, and he always pushed it as far as he could go. Now he's got the bonus of being the Prime Minister of a very unusual socialist left government. This is not a normal Labor Party government. In the past, the Kim Beazleys and Bob Hawkes and Bill Shortens of this world would never have let foreign affairs and defence be dominated by these people. And it is at the moment. And the Palestinian advocate is right. Albo's never been there. He went there to the West Bank with Yasser Arafat and Leo McClay. And hasn't visited the sites of all of the terrorism. Neither did Penny Wong when she was again embarrassed into going there by the opposition spokesman, Birmingham. So poor show by the lot. It's distorting our foreign affairs. And as I say, the whirlwind is coming. What Israel is doing is a civilisational fight, not just on their behalf, but on behalf of the whole democratic world, to see that one of the four parts of the axis of evil, Russia, China, Iran and North Korea, is not successful. I mean, the poor people in Ukraine who are having these Iranian drones arrive on their cities every night will be praying for the success of the Israeli strike against Iran. They'll be hoping that they blow up their drone factories. They'll be hoping that they destroy the Russian-installed anti-aircraft systems. And I think Australia should be too, because it'll send our Chinese friends to the north a strong message that some democracies are willing to stand up for themselves, and we too in Australia should stand with Israel, unlike Mr Macron, who is probably worse than Albo and Wong and wants an arms embargo on the country at the very time they've been attacked by ballistic missiles. I'd like to see him react if there were some ballistic missiles on Lyon or on Paris.
Michael, you mentioned Anthony Albanese's ignorance of Israel. It was reported in The Australian yesterday the Prime Minister's office had refused to say whether or not Mr Albanese, Foreign Minister Penny Wong or any other Labor ministers had accepted an invitation to view the raw footage of the October 7 attacks. So we'll take that as an admission that they've not viewed it. What's that all about, and how can our government fight against evil when it refuses to even look at it?
Well, they refuse to confront it. It's like so many of their policies. Energy programs don't work, don't confront them, just go on to the next one. It's the refusal of a responsible government to confront political realities, including this international affairs reality. As I said, it's a small democracy. The second time it's had a mass ballistic missile attack. I mean, imagine that happens in the future in any other part of the world. There's got to be a red line drawn by all the democracies against this. It's got to be stopped. And Albo and Wong, of course they wouldn't have seen that horror film about what happened with Hamas raping and murdering and torturing in the south of Israel in that invasion on the 7th of October. They just don't want to confront reality. If they did, they might have to change their policies. I'd like to know if there was any other member of the government who have seen those videos. I know members of the opposition have. Again, it's just a cowardly refusal to confront reality.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you mentioned earlier that Benjamin Netanyahu called out the French President Emmanuel Macron. He called him a disgrace after calling for an arms embargo on Israel this week. And what struck me in particular in this address, Michael, was that he said that Israel is battling for peace and security, not just of Israel, but of the whole world. This is what he said.
I have a message. I have a message for President Macron. Today, Israel is defending itself on 7 fronts against the enemies of civilization. Yet President Macron and some other Western leaders are now calling for an arms embargo against Israel. Shame on them.
Michael, he went on to talk about that they're battling on all fronts when it comes to particularly Islamic extremism. I mean, has he got a point here? Because if nobody is willing to stand up to this, then it will just never end.
Danica, the Pages attack gives you the answer to that. My goodness me, aren't they capable? Don't they surprise you? And won't they do it again with Iran? This is, for anyone on the centre-left or the centre-right of politics in the democratic world, this is a civilisational fight. This is the good guys against Russia, China, Iran and North Korea. And if we don't stand with them and they were to fall, which they won't, it would be a terrible black mark against our countries, our democratic countries too, including what some of those American cartoon characters used to call the cheese-eating surrender monkeys in Paris.
Yeah, it's just extraordinary, isn't it? Michael Danby, great to have you on. Thank you so much for joining us on the show this evening. Thank you.
Good. Well, thank you both.
Thanks, Michael.